Quills Show. I am Joe Quills, as you could have guessed, and it is Thursday night, another night of fun, some banter, and who knows where we'll go tonight. We got a crap ton of topics to talk about tonight, so be ready because we are going to probably run the gamut here of sports topics here. Some may be older than others, but hey, it is what it is. So, uh, as you can see all the topics that we're going to get to, and I may not even get to all of them. That's why sometimes when I say more to come, more to follow, anything like that, it's usually because I don't think I have enough topics, and that's why after an hour and 15, I'm like, see you later. But tonight, I got a stack here, and it's about 6 or 7 stories here. As you can tell on the scroll there, I almost used all the 200 characters there that I get to tell you what's going on in my world and let you know what's going on. I'll get into that 6 inning minimum rule. Um, I'll give you my thoughts on that, and maybe as the regular crowd starts shuffling in, even though it's Thursday night and not Saturday, um, you know, maybe you can come up with some rule changes you'd like to see in sports. I know that's an ongoing topic that I have of like things that I want to see changed. And I was among the first that suggested banning the shift back in the early 2000s, well, 2008 to about 2012, about um, when the Phillies were consistently in the playoffs like they have been the last 2 years here. Also, White Sox news. They're actually trying to get fans into the ballpark. How about winning? Uh, JJ McCarthy's out for the year. Scotty Scheffler calls the PGA Playoff Tour format silly, bullying in boxing, believe it or not. And some heads rolled at ESPN today. I'll tell you who, I'll tell you why, and I will tell you why some people will think that I'm bullying on somebody. But, anyways, it is Thursday night. We're a day closer to the weekend. I have back to back weekends off. Um, just the way that the schedule worked at my job, where, they closed my office 2 weekends in a row. And Weston Wilson, also known as Weston Wilson, because I was kind of doing the Will Wheaton thing that they do on the Family Guy, I think it is. Uh, Weston Wilson has a chance at a cycle here. He's hit a home run, he hit a triple, he hit a single. He's a double away from the cycle here, and that's the thing with NBC Sports now. They will put on their cycle alert, no hitter alert. Almost like they're jinxing the player that's trying to achieve a monumental feat like this that doesn't happen too often. So, so it's a 1-2 pitch here coming up, foul ball. And I'm sure those that are watching on the stream are probably 15, 20 seconds ahead of me, and that's fine. But uh, but we'll get to all the stories here, and hopefully we get them all in without going 5, 6 hours because I'm not staying up to 4 o'clock in the morning. Um, you know, once the because once the September comes around, I add that fourth day, and I'll be doing 5 shows a week, 4 with the Joe Quills show, 1 with Also Eligible on Saturday. By the way, Also Eligible on Saturday, talking Woodbine because it is the King's Plate, which is Canada's version of the Triple Crown. So 2-2 pitch coming up. And if they call that a double, he hit for the cycle. And he is getting a standing ovation. And he knows he hit for the cycle. And that is the 10th. That's the 10th cycle in Phillies history. So, I broke it about 20 seconds later than everybody else, but Weston Wilson did hit for the cycle. And I will try to stop calling him Weston Wilson, as in Will Wheaton. But you get the idea here. So he has hit for the cycle. So congrats to him. Hopefully Major League Baseball doesn't take that away. We also got the Eagles going on right now, but I'm not too worried about that right now. Eagles are down 10-3. What they do? It's only New England. Uh, the starters got their work in the joint practice that they had in New England. Uh, so fun night down at the ballpark, and I think the Phillies woke up last night. As Phillies were down big early. I think it was 5-2. It was 3-0, and you're sitting there, and it's like, oh Jesus Christ, what the hell? And the one thing I was telling you guys the other day, and I was saying it on my X at Joe Quills, if you're watching um, on Twitch or on YouTube. The one thing I was saying, and I might have said it on stream, I might have said it with you guys, the Phillies need a bench clearing brawl. That will get unity back in the clubhouse if there isn't unity already. But sometimes you get some moments that get you back on track. Like, for example, the 1993 Phillies, they hit a rough patch in the end of June, beginning of July, and then they had that doubleheader game uh, where the first game didn't end until 12:30 in the morning because there were 6 hours of rain delays, and then they played the second game, and then the second game didn't end until almost 5 o'clock. Um, you do have moments, defining moments in a season that come up, and um, that might have been a defining moment because the Phillies were struggling against a team that probably couldn't defeat the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp, which is Florida's or Miami's AAA franchise. But right now, I don't think the Washington Nationals can beat their single A team in Wilmington, Delaware, the Wilmington Blue Rocks right now. But at least not the way they're playing tonight. It's 13-3 going into the ninth inning there. So hope you had the Phillies tonight. Hopefully you had them on the run line as opposed to the money line. Hopefully you get a little more juice for your buck. That's something I always tell you that I try to do. But I think the Phillies have woken up, and hopefully they will get back the top seed in the National League. They will gain a game on the Dodgers, who passed them in the standings. They'll gain another game on Atlanta, who lost today to San Francisco. So, and the one thing I said to one of my friends was on Facebook, I said, you know what? I really think, it just seems like every time the Phillies get to 4 or 5 games in the division, I even said it on my good friend, chairman of the board's Twitch last night, I believe. If not, it was earlier in the week. Maybe been Sunday night. I said every time it seems like the Phillies, the league goes down to 4 or 5 games, it goes back up to 8, 9, and 10 again. So that may be the case again here, as the Phillies and the Braves do meet next week in Atlanta. I'm sorry, Cobb County, but you get the idea. But um, so we got a lot to talk about here, and Weston Wilson did hit for the cycle there. And Paco Figueroa is still wearing a helmet from the 2022 World Series. I see the logo on there, dude. You just got busted. But um, so let's get to it here. And I'm going to talk about the big story that hit my phone this morning as I was getting ready for work because I had to make money. I got to make donuts. So I don't know about you, but Major League Baseball got very lucky 2 years ago with the pitch clock, which technically has been in the rule book since the 1950s. And the only reason why I know that is because I was listening to a Dan Patrick podcast, and they have a segment called On This Day. And whatever it was in February, it was like 1953 or something. They said that the they said that the pitchers had to release the ball every 20 seconds, I think it was. I don't remember the exact number. And I may be a year or two off on the year, but I know it was in the 50s or 60s at the very latest. That rule has been in place. Now, the players will get blamed because even though their union is strong as hell, it's not as strong as the umpires union, in my opinion. And the umpires union, you know, you never hear or very rarely hear about a umpire getting disciplined, you know, other than Angel Hernandez, who's gone, thank God. Um, you never hear about poor performance. You never hear about anything disciplinary, you know, all these bad calls that they made, but I get it. They are human. They do make mistakes. And I think the one problem with Major League Baseball is the same problem with the NFL, which is let the play go. We'll fix it later. Bank Boy, welcome in. I know it says "Hey yo" on here, but for some reason it's just giving me that. Don't worry about that. Hope you're doing well out there. Um, I'll tell you what. Major League Baseball got very lucky with the rule changes, with the shift, uh, with the pitch clock, which was in the rule book, but the umpires never enforced. You know, now because of technology and stuff like that, they baseball had to overtly enforce that rule and say it's the player's fault when it's a combination of the two. You know, I won't lie. I'll tell you that that Major League Baseball did have a problem with people stepping out of the batter's box all the time. And I can tell you one thing: for me, playing Little League Baseball to a certain extent, you know, you know, oh, you guys have to step out of the box and look at me before the next pitch. It was so micromanaged even for little kids where, you know, one game I was leading off and I wasn't a leadoff hitter. I was a power hitter. I was like 4 to 7 in the batting order usually. And, he's telling me to step out of the box. It's like, first of all, I don't run that well. I mean, I ran okay, but not as fast as half the team. Um, you know, I wasn't as fast as the other runners, and I'm not going to leg out a drag bunt single, but you do realize that there's really nothing strategic you can tell me. Now, I can understand if there's a guy on first base, you want to do all this stuff, but I mean, it trickles all the way down, and by the time the kids get all the way up to the majors, they have to step out. And then you got Nomar Garcia Parra playing with his batting gloves all the time and shit like that. It's like, come on, man. But Major League Baseball did get it right. You know, the pitch clock and everything. Now, what they what the rumor that was released today. Now, I got it from ESPN, so I don't know who mentioned it first, who said it. I don't know who was the main culprit here. I'm giving ESPN the credit because that's where I found it. That's what hit my phone. But, if it's somebody else, give them the credit as well because, I'm equal opportunity. But I'll tell you one thing. This rumor that could happen is major dog shit. Now, I understand the reasoning behind it, but I will bring you some personal experience with other things in life that I deal with, and um, it's really something that I do not want to see in Major League Baseball because you're going to have condition on top of condition with this. So, it's just like just play the flipping game. Now, when I first heard about this, and the rumor is that Major League Baseball now may be a few years away from happening, but if they're talking about it now, it means they're going to have it in the lower levels of minor leagues and have it work its way upward, just like it had with the pitch clock, with bigger bases. They even experimented in minor league ball with moving the mound back a foot, which didn't work. Uh, all these little things here. So you do have I mean, give Major League Baseball credit. They're trying to make the game better. But sometimes you make the game worse, plain and simple. And, they had the pitch clock, they had the elimination of the shift, they enlarged bases, they limited pickoff throws. That's what I missed. Um, they've led to shorter games, which long games were a problem. You know, I guarantee it because it's like, Jesus Christ, it's 11 o'clock and we're only in the seventh inning and the game started at 7 o'clock. By the way, Phillies just win 13-3, so a lot to a little. Um, the Eagles defeat the Commanders. I mean, the Phillies beat the Nationals tonight down at the ballpark, and I think the Phillies have woken up finally. So, um, so Major League Baseball is identifying the next set of rules uh, that they're aiming to improve the product on the field. And the main rule they want to do, and I think it's the only one that they really mention in this article, they want to make starting pitchers pitch 6 innings. Well, the problem is, and it goes all the way down to Little League. Well, what is now Little League, which is more private baseball because everything's more private now. It isn't like in my day where you just sign up for the local rec team and play baseball there. Um, you do have, um, you know, you do have pitchers that are blowing their arms out in high school, even, and probably even before high school, because all they know is pitch harder, pitch harder, pitch harder. And it's because every stadium has a pitch has a radar. You got to have that. You got to see that this pitcher threw 105 miles an hour. Everything is faster, 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 and um, you know, it's not just in baseball. I mean, we just recently had the Olympics completed, and there were the share of Olympic and world records, and you know, sometimes you question is what is the limit for humans to what how far can you go? And I think that we have seen that maybe pitching isn't what it used to be, where it used to just be actually pitching instead of just throwing as hard as you can. And this is probably the solution that they're trying to do to get things back under control, because it's not just about reestablishing making starters um, relevant again. It's also, in a ripple effect, getting pitchers to not blow out their arms, not blow out their shoulders, stuff like that. Now, I get that, but I just think, I mean, you can also go all the way down to the kids level, elementary school. Let's just group that time frame, pre-high school. Let's just say that. Um, I know when I played sports back when I was a kid, I played baseball into the spring, into early summer, depending on how late the season went, but it never went further than middle of July at the very latest. So we had a season for football. I mean, a season for baseball. Those that wanted to play football could play football in the fall, and I wasn't allowed because I was a little bit bigger. I mean, not taller. I mean, not fatter, but you know, they the rules, the weight scales were antiquated back in my day. And yeah, I am old, so I can say in my day. Um, you know, my age group would tell you that I was supposed to be in the 65, 75 pound leagues. Here, I'm about 90 at the time. And it wasn't because I was fat, it was just that I was taller. I wasn't necessarily fat, but it was, just a little bit bigger, but not because of fat. But, you know, my parents had to protect myself because you're going to be playing against kids. I would have been playing kids in most situations that were a year or two above me in school. So you would have an 8-year-old playing with 10-year-olds. And even though the hits aren't that much, kids still get hurt. And you can't, I mean, and then on top of that, you said that then, if you got a company who's paying for insurance, they're going to pay my bills because I broke my leg playing football, or broke my finger doing this, every single year. You're like, dude, you got to get him off of the football because he's costing us all this fucking money. So, but you get the idea. Um, so, so if you think about this, Major League Baseball wants to find a balance in the sport. Okay, I get it. But the one thing is, I think that they let the genie's out of the bottle. Pandora's box has been opened. All those analogies when it comes to the way pitching is nowadays. Um, An MLB official told ESPN, "We are interested in increasing the amount of action in the game, restoring the prominence of the starting pitcher, and reducing the prevalence of pitching injuries." Well, let me tell you something. And I remember this from back in the day. And if you remember Kent DeColvey, who was with the Pirates, played a couple years for the Phillies, and I think ended up with Cincinnati, he would throw from underneath, basically. And I don't know how they asked him the question of why. I don't know if it was why he does it or anything like that. It might have been like an introductory interview he had with the Phillies, getting to know him as a person as opposed to just being the pitcher. Um, and I remember him saying that throwing from down here is more natural than throwing up here. So you do have, you don't have that natural motion with this, but it go like that, it's fine. And also, also going through baseball history with some of the things I've been doing to try to set up that um, promotion relegation league that I want to do on out of the park baseball. Um, you know, going through different things and finding things that you don't realize. Baseball in its earliest days. Now you can trace professional baseball leagues to 1871 with the National Association. Then the National League was formed in 1876 because there was a whole issue with trust and all this other bullshit with the National Association through 1875. So 1876 was the first year of National League Baseball. Originally, baseball was thrown underhanded like slow pitch softball. Now, how slow, I don't know, because we didn't have cameras or anything like that back then. We had to rely on what was told by legend and everything else and newspapers and stuff like that. But, you know, that was the natural motion in baseball originally. Somewhere along the lines, they changed it to an overhand pitch or however you want to throw it. So, and, if you were just to do that a couple of times, you can tell. I mean, I could tell because my arm has been giving me problems for a couple of months now, my arm and my shoulder. But that's just because I'm old, I'm decrepit, I'm a loser. Um, but I really think, it's partially. I mean, there's so many different factors, and just like when the Players Association was complaining to Major League about, um, there isn't enough time between pitches. Now, is it possible? Yeah. Is there scientific proof? Probably not. You know, does it matter if you throw 15 seconds apart or 30 apart? I don't know. But um, um, now, an MLB official did say in that statement there's a whole host of options in addressing these issues. So they're just in the exploratory stage, but it just seems like it's really looking like um, that they're going to tinker with the game some more when they shouldn't be. I mean, it's kind of like Gary Bettman ruining hockey because of the overtime rules in the regular season going to the shootout. The shootout, it's like, thankfully the NBA hasn't done this yet, and hopefully they don't. Hopefully you do not get to the point where, okay, well, we played two overtimes. We can't settle a winner. We're going to go to free throws. And we're going to have the two centers shooting 5 free throws. And it's probably Shaq and whoever else, the equivalents where and it's like bling, bling, bouncing everywhere, but going into into the rim. But now, There is a rule called the double hook rule, and I need to pull that up just so I can get that right for you here. Um, Let me just find it here for you while I talk here. So the league has discussed a limit to the size of pitching staffs and the double hook designated hitter, according to sources familiar to this discussion. Um, there's some belief around the game, however, that one idea could be a panacea, requiring starting pitchers to go at least the time they take them out. Let me see here. Okay, so this is from 2022 that ESPN, I printed this off of ESPN. So this is from 2022. So there may have been tweaks beyond this. And a lot of the minor league teams in the MLB affiliate independent leagues, they are the guinea pigs for these rules that MLB wants to see if it's worth exploring further, bring them up to the higher levels and eventually bringing them to the major leagues. Now, from this article from 2022, um, the double hook rule is a rule. It was a rule experiment in the Independent Atlantic League that forced teams to forfeit their designated hitter when removing a starting pitcher from the game. The double hook designated hitter was first tested in the Atlantic League last season, well, the 21 season, with teams losing their DH when they removed their starter. MLB and the Atlantic League on Tuesday announced that this season, if the starter completes at least 5 innings, the teams can retain the DH for the rest of the game. Um, they had the automated ball strike system in 2011 or 2021. They had it tested already. Um, um, they also had this rule which never really got anywhere. Um, They let batters attempt to advance to first base if a pitch is not caught in the air by the catcher. Batters can try for first even if the base is occupied, and they'll be awarded with a hit if they reach. I mean, but that is a goofy rule that hopefully doesn't get back here. So, um, oh, and I know what I was going to do here. Uh, Welcome in, SJ. I don't have that EV Muck screen up here. I'm just um, So SJ's watching the WNBA. She'll keep me updated on that because I did see here as I was trying to find information on the double hook rule that uh, the Liberty the Liberty Bibbities are up big on the LA Sparks after one quarter, 29-10, I think it was. I mean, it's almost as bad as a blowout as what the Phillies did to the Nationals tonight. I think the Phillies are back on track after Kyle Schwarber might have saved the season last night with a grand slam. Um, but um, and like I said, she's watching the NBA. Um, and it might be a much closer game here since I had to pull up ESPN to pull up the double hook designated hitter rule because they referenced this in the article here. Um, but you know, and now that we have a couple of people in here, they can comment of how bad my two suggestions for Major League Baseball would be. But anyways, um, so they want to make it that starting pitchers would have to pitch 6 innings, but but not not that but but comma. Um, well, before I get to that um, they think that it'll bring back the prestige of a starting pitcher. Okay, yeah. fans would be able to tune into a game knowing that he would be on the starting pitcher would be on the mound for the majority of it. Does it really matter anymore? I mean, like the argument I have with a starting lineup, a batting lineup, it's like, oh, Kyle Schwarber's leading off and blah 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 blah. Well, he's only leading off in the first inning. Once you go once through the order, does it really matter who goes 1 through 9? Little, just a little, some things I'd like to point out every once in a while that makes saying, good point. It may be a good point, it may be horrible, but the only thing you have to know after that first go round is, okay, who do I hit after? And if you're not sure, check the lineup card that your manager has. But Seth Lugo, the Kansas City Royals starter, who's come out of nowhere this year, he said, "I do that anyway." He said with a smirk. We all want to go at least 6 innings, and I think Wheeler went. I almost said Chris Wheeler, the Phillies, the former Phillies color analyst, Zach Wheeler. I think he pitched 6 innings tonight, but I mean, he threw 96 pitches. He got the 6 innings, so he would have qualified under this rule if it ever comes into play. But you know, when he left the game, it was 9. It was 9-2, so you didn't really need him in there. Um, so, but even though pitchers want to pitch at least 6 innings, at least Seth Lugo does. There may be a reason why they want to do this beyond the prestige and everything else. Starting pitchers are increasingly unlikely to reach that 6 inning goal. In 2014, starting pitchers averaged just under 6 innings per start, 5.97. Now, I guess that is probably the first year that they noticed that starting pitchers went less than 6 innings in a game. That's probably why they're quoting it, or it's just convenient because it's 10 years ago. This season, starting pitchers stand at 5.25 innings, and in AAA, they're down to 4.3 innings per start. So they're babying these pitchers more and more. Now, granted, a lot of these pitchers, you got to put bubble wrap around them because we're paying them 25, 30, 35 million dollars. And truthfully, I wouldn't be upset if there was a financial bubble burst with Major League Baseball because I'm all for the players making as much money as possible. It's a union thing and all that, but the point is, with regionalized baseball coverage and all that stuff, with Valley Sports going into bankruptcy because they bought Fox Sports regional sports network debt, and that's basically what buying another company is buying their debt. You just wonder how much it'll last. And also with my final story tonight, you'll see that it even affects the major channels too. But now MLB, if they do go with the 6 inning rule, whenever it is, because it's probably going to take a couple years, it won't be as simple as forcing every starter to pitch 6 innings every time out. Exceptions would have to be included. And I'm just going to use the Phillies game, the Phillies box score from tonight. I'm not going to show you the box score, especially if you're a Nationals fan. The pitcher for the Washington Nationals, Mitchell Parker, 3 innings pitched. He did pitch part of the 4th inning. 10 hits, 9 runs, all earned, 2 bases on balls, 6 strikeouts, and he gave up 2 homers, 72 pitches. Basically, he caught the wrong team at the wrong time tonight because the Phillies are starting to get back on track, in my opinion. Watch the Phillies get no hit tomorrow. And if that does happen, SJ, don't tell me that my prediction was true because it's like just a dumbass comment I have from time to time. And you know me, I have tons of dumbass comments. But so, um, so MLB acknowledges there are going to be exceptions to this rule. Now, some of the exceptions: the starting pitcher throws 100 pitches. That may be the Blake Snell rule because most times Blake Snell goes into the fifth inning, it gets done 5 innings, he's already at 105 pitches. A pitcher gives up 4 or more earned runs. Well, that is even a little more unfair because you have a 6-run inning. Let's say you give up 6 runs in the first inning and all 6 runs are unearned. I can't take you out of the game. Also, on top of that, what happens if I take him out in the first inning, you give up 4 earned runs, and oh, wait a second, we had an error there. That wasn't a base hit, that was an error. So those runs that you gave up, they're now unearned runs because you do have changes to stats. And in Major League Baseball, you can change stats up to 7 days after the game. So now the third exception would be if a pitcher gets injured, and that rule is in place for the 3-pitcher minimum for relievers as well. But they speculate in this article that if a pitcher gets injured, he is required an injury list stint to avoid manipulation. And trust me, people will manipulate things. You only have to look at the LA Dodgers because when a starting pitcher had a minor injury, like a hangnail or a paper cut or anxiety from an earthquake. All right, anxiety from an earthquake would drive me onto the IL, but you get the idea. But the reason why pitchers have a 15-day DL is because let's put them on the 10-day DL. They'll only miss 1 start. When day 10 or day 11 comes around, we'll activate them, and they'll only miss 1 start. So now he's got to miss 2 to 3 rotations of that starting rotation before he gets back on the mound. Now, some interesting quotes here on speculation of what this rule would do. Chicago Cubs pitching coach Tommy Hatavi. And if you're new here and I'm mispronouncing names, it is not done on purpose, and I apologize in advance. But, it happens. And the Cubs pitching coach said you would start to think about a repertoire that would get you through the lineup 3 times. And, the thing is now, many pitchers don't go through the lineup 3 times because of the fact that it's all analytics now. It's like, well, when Joe Blow goes through the lineup 3rd time, he gets lit up like a Christmas tree. Well, gee, I wonder why, because he's probably at 105 pitches when the leadoff hitter gets to the plate for the 3rd time. Now, the pitching coach said you would want to develop that ability between now and when they implement the rule. And that's probably one of the reasons why, beyond the fact that they want to see how the rule works in the minor leagues and also the MLB partnered independent leagues, they want to see how this works because they'll want to tweak it. They want to do this. They want to do that. But now they do say in this article a 6-inning requirement, just like the pitch clock went through the minors, start the lower levels, work your way up. A 6-inning requirement for starters would take years of advance notice before arriving at MLB. Now, there is one problem that they don't mention in this article. When you had double headers in the minor leagues, they're only 7-inning games. So are they going to, in the minor leagues, are they going to adjust that for a 7-inning game and say, okay, well, you can pitch 5? if you have this bogus rule. I just think if you're going to have something like this, you're going to have to realize, especially in the minor leagues where they only play 7 games on doubleheader days because of the size of the roster and stuff like that, you are going to have to adjust that rule for 7 games. At least I would think. But I'm thinking way too much about this. Um, Now, it also would need to begin at the lower levels in finding out which pitchers have what it takes to succeed in the new role of a starter and by pushing younger pitchers harder before they arrive to the majors. Because, in a way, if this were to start at the bottom and work its way all the way up to the top, you are going to have to weed out those pitchers who can't cut it as a starting pitcher. And sometimes you find out, some pitchers make it to the majors and, oh, this guy's a phenom. I'll give you a perfect example. Mark Appel. He was drafted by Houston, ended up with the Phillies for a year or two, a couple of different times. Actually, he played for a year or so with the Phillies, retired, and then went back to baseball. Um, you know, he got to the majors, he got lit up, and then eventually became a reliever, even though he was mostly in the minors. So, you get to find out real quick, especially if this rule were to ever happen, even in the lower levels of the minor leagues, what would be what you have is the pitchers that can go those 6 innings, and those that we got to put them in the bullpen. Even if we put them in long relief for 3 innings or 4 innings. But Brandon Gomes, the Dodgers GM, said, I think we would look to build up the pitch counts a bit sooner than we currently do in the minor leagues. Yeah, because they just don't let them pitch much. It's like, oh, we're at 75 pitches, we got to pull them out. And you can probably go all the way to Little League and blame the pitch count. But the pitch count in Little League is something different because, these young kids who are in Williamsport right now, I think it's 85 pitches they're allowed to throw. And if my number is too high, then so be it right now. But let's say it's 85 just for the sake of argument. You know, I think it was Dr. Frank Job, the renowned elbow doctor, orthopedic surgeon. He came up with guidelines for different levels of Little League. So, and one thing you'll notice, and it's been in Williamsport for the last 5, 10 years, maybe longer. You have a little board, a little electric board there where it counts the pitches as the pitcher throws. And there are guidelines where if you pitch like 25 or less, you can pitch the next game, the next day. If you pitch 25 to 50, you got to take a day off. Yeah, 50 to 65, you get 2 days off, and you can't pitch for 3 or 4 days if you throw the full 85. I mean, sometimes you got to protect yourself. You got to do something to protect yourself and protect the kids, especially in this day and age where everything is so litigious. But, you know, it's just that pitch counts have gone all the way to the Little League. And now it's like, well, he's at 100 pitches. We can't have him face this guy who's hitting a buck 25 because, you know, third time through the lineup, he gets lit up at a 422 clip. Even though this guy's hitting 125, we can't go one more batter. God forbid he's at 103 pitches. Well, the major league guy, that is, not the little leaguer, but you get the idea. Now, they believe the trickle-down impact on the amateur world will also take place, especially if teams begin to prioritize command and efficiency. Because the way baseball is right now, it's, oh my God. I mean, like, for example, I was watching yesterday. Was it yesterday or was it Tuesday? I'm jokingly thinking to myself, um, no, it was yesterday because Tyler Phillips was on the mound. I was like, man, Tyler Phillips only threw that 91 miles an hour? Oh, man, you got to get rid of him. I was thinking that as a joke by myself, because I keep myself entertained sometimes, you know, but at least SJ's here so you can entertain me. And Bank Boy and anybody else who's here right now that may be hiding. Um, you know, I just think that, um, sometimes I got to come up with some things where if I come up with a joke, hopefully I write it down because if not, I'll lose it forever. Um, um, an NL assistant manager said the broader question of simply developing pitchers to pitch deeper in games is one that we talk about all the time within the industry, and it's something that probably doesn't get fixed if we attempt to address it only at the professional levels. I think teams would approach their top prospects the same, but maybe invest a little bit more in the middle draft rounds to guys they think can command the ball with upside. So it's more than just the star players. I mean, your star pitcher in the major leagues will only pitch once every 5 days, once every six sometimes, because with days off and other things like that. But um, and also it says here also the fact of you know max max velocity, um, that has to stop. Yeah, because how many times I can't tell you how many times I told one of my buddies, it might have even been Mike, it's just that they just throw as hard as they can for as long as they can, and um, it's not you know let's mix things up. Let's throw curveball. Let's throw a change up here. Oh my God, a change up. And that changeup was only 85 miles an hour. Oh my God. But, you know, and, it's all the same thing here. Arizona's GM said it's about we would have to push command over stuff. Um, you know, and, and you got to work with different, you got to think differently now. And I mean, even me, even with my job, I'm too fast. Okay, well, I'm trying, but, the anxiety I have and people screaming at you all the time, you lose track of everything. You're trying to work on something and then, okay, well, today's stats are screwed up. But um, now, executives willing to dive into this hypothetical of how the rule would play out, they aren't sure if pitchers can go backward from the current state of pitching. So it may even take a generation of baseball players to get things the way it had been in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. Um, an assistant GM said the genie is out of the bottle when it comes to max velocity. I'm not sure it can go back in, no matter the rules. But you know, and it's also with I will say also with the way hitting is. It's either a home run or nothing. If you don't hit a home run, that's not good. It's not good for our analytics. You can't. A simple base knock. You know, but it did help. It has helped Kyle Schwarber because I think he's down about 5 to 10 home runs from this point last year, but he's hitting in the 250s this year, and he was in the 190s most of the year last year. So, you know, hitting to all fields, not necessarily going for the home run every single at bat, even though Kyle Schwarber does still walk a lot. You know, if if this was 2 years ago and he was hitting about 250, 260, he would have been my MVP candidate. but he barely hit 200 even in 2022. But it just seems like you know the Phillies hitting coach Kevin Long. I got a novel idea. Let's hit all fields. Let's not go for home runs every single at bat. But um, now they haven't yet reached an experimental stage with these ideas, but they are talking about it. Um, the goal is to see a star pitcher on the mound as long as possible and as frequently as possible. A six-inning minimum is a potential path, but it's just you only went 5 innings. And if you get injured, you got to spend time on the injured list, even though you may have had a cramp in your leg. Oh, we got to put you on the IL now for 10 days because of a cramp. You know, it's just it's you try to stop manipulation, but you have a legitimate reason to miss a game and then come back 5 days later. Then you get all different things going on here. So, um, and one assistant GM did say the incentivization of possibly even if starting staff totals 900 innings or more, they could get bonus draft picks as well. Um, One assistant GM said the incentivization is great in theory, but in reality, managers are going to make in-game decisions based on the team. They're not going to make it based on gaining extra draft picks 6 months later. But if the rules are there, it's another story. Um, I don't like this rule. I don't even like that they're talking about it. But I understand why. It's because between analytics and everything else, like for example, I watched Seattle and Detroit today, and they were in the fourth inning. Seattle was up 1-0, yet neither team had a hit. Um, Detroit went with the opener, whereas Seattle just went with their regular starter. And I just think the fact that we have openers that's probably uh skewing that stat as well, where pitchers are only going 5 innings. Now, I do have two things that annoy me to no end when it comes to baseball with rules. Now, this is not one of them, but I've said numerous times, and I said it because of the Chicago White Sox, which is going to be my next story. Need to bring promotion and relegation into sports, but the problem is with the way Major League Baseball and other sports are so ingrained with the minor league farm systems as opposed to moving teams up and down leagues and stuff like that based on talent and prestige and all that. It's never going to happen because you got so many players in minor league baseball and so many teams that you can never do anything with with promotion relegation because teams own this team owns the right to this player, this team owns the right to that player. Well, you can't really do anything with it because of the way that the minors are all set up. So I understand that, but I would like to see two rules come up in baseball, and you can criticize me, especially for the one rule I have, wacky idea I have, and SJ will tell you, oh, it's just Thursday. Joe's wacky to begin with, but one rule I want to see, and I bitch about this, whether the Phillies are up 10 runs or down 10 runs, and that is position players pitching. Now, I understand why. It's all because, we don't want to burn another arm from the bullpen. Well, I would rather burn an arm in the bullpen because we're getting blown out by 10, 15 runs than deal with somebody throwing 35-mile-an-hour fat balls, FATBALLS, throwing those fat pitches in, and it turns into batting practice. I mean, the Phillies had to use a pitcher back in the early 2010s, and I can't remember the name off the top of my head. You know what? Let me look it up here. Wilson Valdez. Back in 2011, the Phillies ran out of pitchers. It ended up going 19 innings. I think he pitched 2 innings that night, but because it was an extra inning game, he was throwing 90 some miles an hour that day. And he was a shortstop, so obviously he has probably the best arm in the infield. So he pitched the 19th inning and probably the 18th. You know, but the one rule change I want to see in sports, it was like to see in baseball. Now, it will never happen because, analytics and everything else has taken over the game as opposed to gut feeling and stuff like that. I do not want to see a position player on that mound, especially one who wants to lollipop a 35-mile-an-hour fat pitch to, some guy who's never hit a home run in his career. I mean, that's how Johan Rojas got his first major league home run. It was like 18-2, and let me lollipop one, and he swung for the fences like he was doing anything like that. So, and by the way, the Eagles beat the Patriots 14-13. I know nobody cares, but Eagles are 2-0, 21 more games to go until the perfect season. Sarcasm. So, I'd like to see Major League Baseball address this rule because even though the game's out of hand, I just don't like the fact that it turns into Paralympic Games slow pitch softball. That's what it seems like. It's like, how slow can we get the ball to reach home plate instead of trying to get a guy out? Because one thing I will say is there is a video, I think it's still on YouTube. I think I saw it on YouTube. And SJ would be impressed that I'm quoting a New York Yankees game, even though it was a great game because the Yankees got blown the fuck out by the LA Angels of Anaheim, Orange County, Western Time Zone, whatever. I will tell you, some people, even a blowout, take their job seriously. And now, granted, Wade Boggs was legitimately throwing knuckleballs, but he would have occasionally thrown a fastball every once in a while as well. He wasn't throwing his knuckleballs at 35 miles an hour. They were probably in the 60s, but I don't even know if they had every pitch on the screen like they do now, where it's like, oh, he threw that 93. Oh, he threw that 97. And a lot of times I question the Phillies and other baseball teams saying that somebody threw a 99-mile-an-hour sinker. Like, for example, Jose Alvarado of the Phillies. He throws a quote unquote sinker. It's just that it's a fastball that has downward movement. That's not a sinker in my opinion, even though they say it is. But I just think in order for a pitcher, a position player to pitch, you got to exhaust your entire bullpen. I'm tired of seeing these slow pitch softball games in the eighth and ninth inning because you're down 12, 15, 20 runs. Because guess what? More times than not, you're probably going to be down 20, 25, 30 runs if you keep it up. But that's one thing I would like to do, like to see. Is it going to happen? No. Now, the other rule that I have, which you don't even need to test, it's already happened overseas. And I know that this rule, if I had 300 viewers, 400, 1,000, I guarantee you everybody would leave as I suggest this rule. And the one good thing is I would get rid of the ghost runner in extra innings. Now, granted, I understand why that they did it back starting in 2020, and it was because we got to save the pitchers, the relief pitchers, because of the fact that at back in 2020, it was because of COVID and everything going on, and you never know how many guys you're going to be short that one night because okay, well, two guys got COVID, you know, even though COVID's more under control now than it was back in 2020. Because back in 2020, like I told you at the beginning, it was what the hell hit us. We gotta we gotta investigate this. So that's why COVID is still around, but it's not like what it is, like it was 4 years ago. But if you were watching TV late at night and you were dying for a baseball game, they had the KBO, the Korean Baseball Organization. And they have this in the KBO. They have it in the Japanese league as well. I think that if you want to save arms, but you want to have some integrity in the game, and you don't want to have the ghost runner, the gimmick ghost runner. Now, I'm replacing a gimmick with a gimmick, but it's something that has been done abroad for probably decades. I say if you cannot win the game in 3 extra innings, the game ends in a tie. And I know if there were thousands of people watching me tonight, I guarantee you there's a mass exodus. I mean, kind of like if the Phillies were up 15 runs on the Nationals in DC tonight, as opposed to being in Philly. Everybody would be like, everybody that would be a Nationals fan, would be like, oh, and they're gone, you know. Or what I expect from the Giants when they get blown out by the Eagles at the Meadowlands on October 20th. So, just seeing what that will start something. Um, but here's the thing here that would make things very interesting for Major League Baseball. Let's say you need a win to get into the playoffs. A tie does not help you. You get to the bottom of the 12th and you need that run and you need a win. Imagine the chaos that will cause in the 10th, 11th, and 12th innings because you're trying to get that run home and you just cannot get it because, Joe Blow, who got called up in the minor leagues, is pitching that 12th inning because they're out of pitchers. And they find a way to stop your team in the 12th inning. And oh, by the way, that tie, that keeps you out of the playoffs. So I know it's not going to happen, but they do have ties in the KBO and they do have it in Japan. I think it'd be interesting. You know, you need a win and you can't get it, but you're not losing the game. But I know it's not happening. But those rules that I came up with are probably just as ridiculous as the 6 inning rule. But I understand why they're talking about it. But I don't know. It's just more ways that they try to ruin the game, and at least the other rules that they brought in 2 years ago actually help Major League Baseball. I don't think this will in terms of fan reaction because I think I think the analytics has already ruined baseball, and it's ruined other sports too. Now, my God, we're an hour in. I only got one story in. Jesus Christ. Um, the Chicago White Sox, pathetically bad. They announced yesterday that they are going to drop season tickets by 10% next year. Now, they couldn't draw people in even when they were good. And usually, I think what a lot of the season ticket holders do is they would get the top level seats because they wouldn't cost as much and they would sneak down to the lower level. But um, um, Senior Vice President Brooks Boyer of the White Sox said, "We understand where all the ticket prices are, whether it's season ticket prices, secondary market, and understanding where we are organizationally. We thought it was important that it's something we do for our season ticket holders who have been very loyal to us." And the thing is, with season tickets, they're probably at an all-time low down there, down on the south side of Chicago. Um, this is a horrifically bad season. Um, they're on pace for the second worst winning percentage in the modern era. They were 2.240 going into last night's game. They lost last night. I'm just checking here for a second, just give you an update on that because once I get above 10 games, it's like I don't know what the number is. Yeah, they're at 238 for the season. They're 29 and 93 on the year. And believe it or not, they haven't been eliminated from the playoffs yet. But you know, but at least they're not doing what the Sixers did. Was all right, trust the process, but we're going to jack up those prices on you. They're trying to bring fans back into guarantee rate field, aka New Comiskey, and hopefully they get everything. I mean, hope they get back playing what most people call baseball because I don't know what they're playing down there, but it's horrible. So, um, so that's what they're doing in Chicago. On to some football here. I told you about J.J. McCarthy's knee injury. Well, don't tell S.J. because I want her to draft him in fantasy football. I'm kidding. Um, the rookie quarterback is out for the year with a torn meniscus. Remember, if it was just a shave of the meniscus, he could be back later in the year. Whereas if it was a tear, which it is, he's done. Well, he's done for the year. Um, it killed the increasing optimism around McCarthy's on-field progress and left the team with veteran Sam Darnold as the likely 2024 starter. Now, one question I do have, and if somebody is watching that wants to argue this, feel free to do so because we are an open forum here. You can talk about whatever, SJ's here to get rid of the spammers for me. Um, but um, you know, has Sam Darnold had any weapons in his career? Now you can't go with San Francisco because of the fact that he never started there. I mean, he probably started a game, not practice, a game, not a game, practice. But in this case, not a practice game. But I don't think he's had any weapons like he has with Justin Jefferson, for example. Now, I'm not going to go through the Jets rosters and all that stuff because it's so many different there's so many different factors involved with the different teams that he was on. But you know, you could argue, oh well, he was with San Francisco last year. Yeah, but he didn't play much, if at all. So it's not like you could have, you know, somebody you know, coming into this team and being a backup and it's all of a sudden he has weapons. Well, when he was a starter in Carolina, I think he was McCaffrey with Carolina at the time when Darnold was there, I think. If not, so be it. But, he has bounced around to 4 or 5 different teams. I don't think he's ever had anybody like a Justin Jefferson. He doesn't have much else in terms of weapons, but, sometimes you don't need the big weapons. You need role players that can step up a little bit more. But, I don't think he's ever had a weapon like that. Now, McCarthy was the number 10 pick in the draft. He's going to be the 4th first-round quarterback in this century who did not play in the regular season as a rookie, joining Jordan Love in 2020, and we know why. A-Rod. Ayahuasca. Jason Campbell in 2005. I don't think that was an injury. I just think that he was blocked from starting, if I'm not mistaken. Carson Palmer, that was back in the day where your first round quarterbacks probably didn't play anyway, but you get the idea. But, that's an unfortunate thing that happened with JJ McCarthy. Um, you know, and McCarthy was the long term replacement for Kirk Cousins. I mean, he may be. And thankfully, he's got a 5-year deal as opposed to a 4-year deal. But we'll see how he learns as a Viking after the year, learning on the bench, going to quarterback meetings and stuff like that. I would imagine, just getting things ready, getting himself ready for year 2, which will be year 1 for him, even though it's year 2, but you get the idea. So, and then you'll get into those questions. Well, is he a rookie or is he not? But, I don't know what the rules are there. So now we're in the preseason with the NFL, but the PGA Tour is in its playoffs for the next 3 weeks. Well, 3 weekends that they have golf. Now, I only think the reason why the PGA Tour has a playoff, and I'm using finger quotes for those that would be listening to this and not watching. I would say that, I would say that it was necessitated because of NASCAR. Because if you remember, NASCAR used to have years where somebody would clinch the title with 2 races to go because they were so dominant that they had a playoff format, and the playoff format has worked at NASCAR, even though they tweaked it a couple of times. Even though I don't really follow NASCAR, I just kind of see the news on. I end up leaving FS1 on my TV because horse racing is over from Saratoga or Belmont or Aqueduct. That happens from time to time. So I kind of get an idea of some of the things that they do, but I don't know everything about NASCAR, nor do I care. All I know is they make a lot of left turns. Occasionally, you have a course where you have to make a right turn every now and then. But number 1 golfer Scotty Scheffler arrived at the TPC Southwind in Memphis with his Olympic gold medal. Well, I don't think he brought it with him, but they gave you that idea of him the world champion for 4 years because he won in Paris. Um, so he was asked about the trophy that eluded him, the FedEx Cup, which is the championship for the playoffs. Finger quotes. Based on his season-long performance, Scheffler started each of the past tour championships at East Lake Golf Club in Atlanta at 10 under in starting strokes, at least 2 shots better than anyone else. So what they would do is they'll go 10 under. Okay, you two are designated as 8, then you guys are designated as 6, that sort of thing. So in 2022, Scheffler squandered a 6-stroke lead by carding a 3 over 73 in the final round, losing to Rory McIlroy. Last year, Scheffler started 10 under par because he was the top player, and he only went 1 under par over 72 holes on his own. He tied for sixth at 11 under, 16 strokes behind Victor Hovland, who won the tournament. And he probably was like 6, 7, and he just had a lights out weekend that led him to the title. So Scheffler said Wednesday during a news conference, I talked about it the last few years. I think it's silly, meaning the playoffs. You can't call it a season-long race and have it come down to one tournament. I guess. Hypothetically, we get to East Lake and my neck flares up and it doesn't heal the way it did the players. I finished 30th in the FedEx because I had to withdraw from the last tournament. Is that really the season-long race? No, it is what it is. But the thing is, we, with the 4 major sports, with NASCAR now, we have to have a champion. We can't just have 35 races or 35 golf tournaments. We got to have the champion golfer of the year, even though that's the title for the Open Championship, aka British Open. We got to have a champion for the year. So now Rory McIlroy, who benefited from 2022, he's won the FedEx Cup a record 3 times. He likes the format because it gives everyone a chance to try to catch Scheffler over the next 3 weeks. McIlroy said, I love this format because if it wasn't this format, then none of us would have a chance against Scotty because he's so far ahead. So I really like this format. Now, he acknowledges this isn't the fairest way to determine the tour's season-long champion, but he says it's probably the best way to make the season-ending tournament interesting for fans. And McIlroy also says, is it the fairest reflection of who's been the best player of the year? Probably not. But I think at this point, we're not in for totally fair. We're in for entertainment and for trying to put the best product we possibly can. Yeah. And I'll tell you what, if Scotty Scheffler was starting 10 shots behind where he would be, let's say he starts at even par and Rory's 10 under, and Scheffler goes 19 under, like Victor Hovland did last year, or 11 under. No, 16 strokes behind. So, if you're rocketing up the leaderboard because you're playing well in Atlanta, would he have that? Would he have that? Would he have? Let me try that again. If he were down near the bottom of that starting grid, where the leader starts at 10 under in points, if he were down toward the bottom and he rockets up the board and he wins the tournament, do you think that he would think that it's silly? I don't think so. I just think that because he's on top and he squandered the lead the last 2 years, whether it's blowing it on the final round in 22 or just not performing at all, maybe it's the fact that he just may not like the golf course. But I know that if you watch Chef Tom's show on the Bleacher Brothers Network, the Bleacher Brothers platforms, which is YouTube. He does do it on Facebook. I think they do it on X as well. If you watch his show, they give out golf picks every week. I didn't write the picks down because I'm an idiot, but um, this is a 3-week playoff format that they have. I think it's the top 70 golfers this week. The top 50 golfers in the FedEx Cup points standings after this weekend will advance to next week's BMW Championship at Castle Pines Golf Club in Castle Rock, Colorado. It's the first time the tour has been there since 2006. I believe that used to be the International, where they played on the Stableford system as opposed to the system that they usually play on golf over and under par. You get points for a birdie, like 2 for a birdie, 5 for an eagle, 8 for a double eagle, things like that. And then you lose points for bogey, double bogey, that sort of thing. But after the Castle Pines tournament, the BMW, they go to the Tour Championship where you figure Scheffler will once again start with the lead. Now, he admits it is a fun tournament. I don't really consider it a season-long race like the way it's called, but you got to figure out a way to strike a balance between it being a good TV product and it still being a season-long race. I get it, but that's the best way that they can do it right now. So, you gotta do something, because especially with the attitude of American sports, where we have to have a champion. We got to have a champion in NASCAR. We got to have a champion in golf. We got to have champion in the 4 major sports. You got to have it. Um, so, um, but I guarantee you, Scotty Scheffler is not being bullied. Not even with his thoughts here. But I found this story interesting when it came up the other day, and I'm just catching up with it. I found the link that I could get it from. Now, I got it from Variety, but I'm sure you can find it on ESPN. Even though I shouldn't be mentioning ESPN, I should be telling you to go to bleacherbrothers.com for all your sports needs. We have a shitload of articles there. Probably shouldn't be saying the word shitload, but I did again. You should also check that, because I gave out another winner on the Quills Picks Winners article today. I had a winner on Sunday, a winner on Monday, and a winner today. I don't know. I just felt like playing it again. And sometimes I just sit here and I think,
world champion, world fucking champions.
Don't mind me. And thankfully, SJ is probably watching the game and didn't see me make that face. Bank Boy did. But anyways, we all know about the controversy with Imani Khalef, and I'm probably pronouncing the name wrong. And also, I didn't watch any of the boxing. It wasn't because I wasn't protesting, because somebody who may have masculine qualities of some sort, whether it's just extra testosterone, just because biology and whatever, or the thing is, with the United States, you had Leah Thomas, who went from a male to female, and then all of a sudden she becomes the number one swimmer in the Ivy League and the NCAA. Now, I'll give a thought on that later on, but now international sports is a bit different, and you'll see here. And I think also, I also think bullying, everybody cries that they're bullied now, and I understand why. You know, it's that you can't resolve anything anymore because everything gets escalated so much. I mean, it used to be, oh, you're a nerd, uh, you know, but nowadays, schools, organizations, even like these international organizations I'm going to mention, they have to put these rules into place because, you know, everybody has to one up the next person with hazing and, bullying and, everything like that. And especially now with how much of a rotting cesspool social media can be, especially on X, even though I'm streaming on there, you know, I mean, it just seems like everything I see, you know, third every third post is some radical left tweet, radical right tweet, you know, and I'm trying to be as neutral as possible here. So I'm not, it's just like I don't want to see, oh, this candidate has done this and this candidate's done that. I don't care. Well, I do care, but not in the tone that everybody mentions everything. But um J.K. Rowling and Elon Musk have been named in a criminal complaint filed by French authorities over alleged acts of aggravated cyber harassment against the Algerian boxer and newly crowned Olympic champion Imane Khalef. Now, I know I'm probably pronouncing the name wrong, and I apologize. So, and you had that first fight. She punched a girl in the face, and she and Khalef was, and another boxer was banned in 2023 because the testosterone levels were too high, or at least I think it's that. I apologize. I've had the air on tonight. I'm right in the path of it here. So, but seriously, um, now the Bill Booty, who Boudi, not Booty, the Paris-based attorney, confirmed to Variety that both figures mentioned, Rowling and Musk, were mentioned in the body of the complaint posted to the anti-online hatred center of the Paris prosecutor's office on Friday. Now, the thing is, it used to be you could say something and that was the end of it. But as Facebook continues to rot, even though I've had comments of some of the posts that I had, I remember last year when I first saw this, I was bashing people left and right because everybody's trying to be a real American because, oh, it's the 4th of July or it's Memorial Day. Let me pull out this T-shirt I have, which has the American flag on it, has the American eagle on it. I said, if you want to be a real effing American, wear that on a random day in August. Wear it in February. You're not a real American if you wear that just on Memorial Day or the 4th of July. That was my opinion, and the way that I worded it, you know, I was like, well, I'm just stating my opinion. And 30 seconds later, not even that, I'm looking down on my phone again. It's like, well, what you said is something that we had taken down in the past from other people. I'm like, fuck it, I'm going to keep it up there. And if you're going to take it down, I'm going to appeal it. And I'm going to basically tell you, listen, it isn't a bash of any particular creed or anything like that. I'm bashing Americans, yeah, but you know what? Let's look at facts here. So that's how I felt. Whether that's the case or not, that's another story. But um, so the Paris prosecutor's office, the National Center for the Fight Against Online Hatred, confirmed it received the complaint filed and announced that an investigation had been launched. Um, on August 13th, the National Center for the Fight Against Online Hatred contacted the Central Office for the Fight Against Crimes Against Humanity and Hate Crimes to conduct an investigation into the counts of cyber harassment due to gender, public insult because of gender, public incitement of discrimination, and public insult because of origin, so on and so forth. Now, the lawsuit was filed against X, which under French law means that it was filed against unknown persons. So, probably every person that said something bad is probably mentioned, even though good luck finding Joe Blow in with this because they're going to go after the bigwigs. Um, now, now that ensures that the prosecution has all the latitude to be able to investigate against all people, including those that may have written hateful messages under pseudonyms. The complaint nevertheless mentions famously controversial figures. J.K. Rowling and Elon Musk are named in the lawsuit. And also, Donald Trump will be part of the investigation as well. Trump tweeted, so whether or not he is named in our lawsuit, he will eventually be looked into as a part of the prosecution. So, they're not going to do anything to him. Now, um, now, Khalef was born female and not identifying as transgender or intersex, and being backed by the International Olympic Committee, who asserted scientifically this is not a man fighting a woman. She received a torrent of accusations over and abuse over her gender, and I guarantee you we probably saw a million things, whether it's Musk, Rolling, your average ignoramus in the United States, you know. Logan Paul also said something. Um, he said following the first round win, this is the purest form of evil unfolding right before our eyes. A man was allowed to beat up a woman on a global stage, crushing her life dream while fighting for her deceased father. This delusion must end. Paul later deleted the post that admitted he might be guilty of spreading misinformation. Now, such apologies like that wouldn't change anything regarding the investigation. The lawsuit is filed and the facts remain. Um, uh, as for X, it's the responsibility of lawmakers to issue sanctions to platforms, not ours. Um, but the lawyer did note that cyber harassment crimes were now being taken much more seriously by judicial authorities, and that in some cases there are prison sentences. You know, I mean, you get to a certain point where you have to do something. I understand that, but now my thinking about this whole thing, and basically the coach, Khalef's coach, said that just put down the phone. Don't even look at it. Let's focus on the gold medal, and we'll worry about that later. So, and now prosecutors are also investigating a complaint filed by Thomas Jolly, the artistic director of the opening and closing ceremonies, who said he was the target of threatening messages and insults and others from DJ Barbara Butch, not Bush, Butch, Butch, and celebrated drag queen Nikki Doll. Butch claimed she had received online harassment, death threats, and insults following the opening ceremony. Um, but but here's what I think. I think that but I don't trust the IOC either. I don't trust many things, and I just give you my thoughts on things and stuff like this. I think what they did was after they did ban her from the 2023 World Championship, whatever boxing event it was, they felt that Colette was a man. I think it was a Chinese boxer was the same. I think what the IOC did, and it may be the case, it may be the case, it may not be the case. Did they do the scientific test? They probably did. But, they did have that one 800-meter runner, Castor, I think her name was. I forget her first name. They were questioning her because, she was winning by so much. And I think they had elevated testosterone on her, even though she was a female. But the question, but I don't know if they actually did this test, but I think what my opinion is what I think the IOC did was okay, maybe we're not sure. What we'll do is we'll let her fight. If she wins, she wins. Oh well. But we're in the time of the Olympic period where you're going to start seeing medals get taken away for whatever reason. You know, failed drug test, you know, a false positive that they won't overturn, you know, testosterone too high on a woman, things like that. Or estrogen in a male to mask steroids, for example. Now, I will say this, and hopefully it's not insensitive. If, if, now, going through a sex change, in my opinion, even though it's apples and oranges, and of course, I'm not comparing to a horse, but in terms of a sex change, it's basically the ultimate equipment change because you geld a horse, that horse can't produce kids anymore. If if a male becomes female or vice versa, obviously things change. And I don't want to know anything like that. And you know what? There's people that need to do this change because they feel that they're a woman trapped in a man's body and vice versa. And if it's for the right reasons, then I'm okay with it. You know, but I brought up that Penn swimmer, Leah Thomas. Now, I don't know the reasoning behind the sex change with her. If it was psychological, so be it, because we have HIPAA laws here. And whatever the reason is, so be it. But, you know, the one thing is, and we don't know the motivation, so I can't totally say it was done for sports glory because if you're getting a sex change solely for sports glory and stuff like that, then you're a sick motherfucker. I will respect the hell out of you if you change, you make that ultimate change for your psychological well being and everything else. I have no problem if you do that, but if you're doing something, even if it's not anything that's sports related, if there's some ulterior motive that really does something that really corrupts things, then you are sick. Now, Leah Thomas is the only thing I can really think of off the top of my head where it came into sports. And I would let science take over. Now, do I want a man facing women in a sporting event? No. But I'm not going to be the type of person that's going to be a keyboard warrior on X, on Facebook, Threads, Trump's Truth Social. You know, what you do in your personal life is your personal business. If there's something that you have to do for your psychological well being, then, you know, make sure you do everything to make sure that you don't have a sex change done. It's like, maybe I shouldn't have done that. Well, too late now. But if somebody were to go through that in my life, I don't have any kids, but you know, if I had a kid, you know, I would be floored. But I think after a while, you have to say, well, they're still going to be my son or daughter, but I just can't respect someone who does something like this for sport. Now, I'm not accusing of anything, so Kalef can't sue me. But we don't know the whole. I don't think we know the whole story. And truthfully, I don't care because there are women that look like men and act like men, and there's men that are effeminate. So you're going to have that. It's just the way nature is. It isn't men are men, women are women. You know, men have giant dicks, men have micro penises. Women have big tits, women have small tits. Women have big asses, women have small asses. You know, just the way nature takes over and other things. But I don't know what happened. You know, I don't know what they did in their personal life. If they did decide to do something, whether it's for the sake of sport or for the sake of your mental well-being or whatever you do, you know, I will support doing what's best for yourself. But if it's an ulterior motive of gaining glory in sports, get out. But, you know, but let's wait a couple of months. Let's see what the International Olympic Committee does and whatever, who govern drug tests and other tests and things that they do. You know, let science decide. You know, all you keyboard warriors that didn't like it, nothing we can do. Besides, they don't care. The International Olympic Committee and boxing federation and stuff like that, they don't give a shit what I say. They don't care what you say either. But, you know, if you're right in the long term, then you're right in the long term. Whoop de doo. But I'm just, you know, even though I may think that she was a man, it doesn't mean that I'm accusing. Let science take its course. You know, if you want to ignore science, go ahead. I'm just smart enough to know that, everything could be goofy. Things can go goofy with nature and stuff like that. So, but I don't know. We got on that topic, and I don't have a good segue for this. So, um, probably could get myself into trouble because I'm going to turn into a verbal keyboard warrior here with some of the things here. And I'm not sure if you saw this today. Now, I got this from SI.com. Now, depending on what site that you saw this on, you will see laid off, let go. SI chose the word fired when I found this article this morning. I don't even know how I found it exactly, but um, Robert Griffin, who is known on the Dan Patrick Show and McLovin as Robert Griffith Jr. III, and Samantha Ponder, who probably only got the job because of her husband being a football player. According to SI, they were fired. Now, I would prefer the term laid off, let go, something like that when I get into the details of this article. And I can tell you from one thing, in being friends with my friends with the Free For All show, I do have some friends that are in the radio industry. Two friends got laid off this week. Well, one last week, one this week. And it sucks for them. You know, one was actually in the music industry, in the radio industry over 10 years, I believe. Actually moved from her area to a total different area of the country. Another was lucky enough to work in her hometown. They're both out of jobs. But, you know, I doubt that they were fired like this reporter here, Stephen Douglas, said. Now, it may have been some editor that chose the word fired over laid off, but in some regards, you have to be careful with what you say here because, kind of like that last story. No, I wasn't fired. I was let off. You're saying I'm fired? That doesn't sound good. I'm going to sue you. And with the way how litigious we are in the United States, I wouldn't be surprised. But I think Griffin and Ponder would be much better, much more professional than that. And they just like ha ha ha. But um, Robert Griffin III and Samantha Ponder. Now they do say fired. I mean, I think that's reckless in how they worded it. According to a report from the Athletics, Andrew Marchand. Now, is it Andrew Marchand that said it? Because I don't subscribe to the Athletics, so I don't know about you, but I think if it's something that Stephen Douglas is saying on his own, nah, it's not. That's not good. It's not good. It's not good. It's not good reporting, in my opinion. Um, Now, according to the report, the decisions were strictly budgetary. So that contradicts being fired. Because being fired tells me I mouthed off about politics on Facebook or Twitter. Let's use Twitter, for example, because it got a few people at ESPN in trouble over the years because they were stating their political views and it wasn't the political views of ESPN because ESPN and Disney lean left and a lot of the people that were spouting off on Twitter were leaning right, radically right, extreme right, whatever you want to get, whatever you want to say. But the timing of the announcements were shocking, as was the wording by Andrew Marchand in his article. The NFL season's just a few weeks away, and Ponder recently hosted Sunday NFL Countdown. The last couple of years, she had been with ESPN since 2011, and I think that was before she became Samantha Ponder, because it was because she got married to a football player. I think her husband's a football player, and that's why I wish I had 30, 40, 50 other people, because I would give you credit for correcting me, because I'm okay with corrections in a certain extent and be like, hey, Joe, it's really this person. Oh, okay. This person was in this sport, not football. Okay. You know, not you effing idiot, something like that. That I would tell SJ to block you or just time you out for 10 minutes. You know, it's kind of like in the movie Slapshot, the goalie explaining hockey to the announcer. You know, you sit in a box for 2 minutes, you feel shame, and you come back. In what I would do if SJ would be on the same wavelength as me, if somebody called me an effing idiot, you know, give them a 10-minute shame period. And, then if they continue to act up, then you kick them out. But, I trust SJ with any decision she makes. So, and another reason why that this is a layoff and not a firing is because Griffin joined ESPN in 2021 and had 2 years remaining on his contract. He was regularly featured on on their high profile morning shows, as well as in a prominent role in Monday Night Countdown. Now, this may be a reason why, and of course, gotta hate the Philadelphia Eagles more and more. Um, Griffin was recently replaced on Countdown by Jason Kelsey, but I think Griffin had a podcast, but I don't know if it was an ESPN podcast or just a podcast in general. Like, for example, Stephen A. Smith, who I like to call Screamin' A, he has a show on XM. I don't think it's related to ESPN, but he still does it. It may be related to ESPN. I don't know. But, you have budget cuts, but, Screamin' A wants more money. Pat McAfee got a shit ton of money. And they hired McAfee, and, oh, well, we're going to hire McAfee, but we're going to let all these people go. Now, it's just that, anytime you see somebody let go, it's tough, whether it's a best friend or something like that. And I would definitely say that Griffin will end up somewhere. I mean, he may even start up a new podcast. And also now they don't have uh, uh, no complete causes anymore because the Supreme Court outlawed them. So, he may bounce back in a couple of weeks and end up at CBS, or he ends up at Fox, or he, ends up doing podcastings for whatever podcast network. If he wants to come on the Bleacher Brothers, contact AJ Johnson. But yeah, so that's everything in a nutshell. And a lot of stuff that came down over the last 2 days, and I probably could have had a lot more stories if I really wanted to. It's just that the baseball one, I just kept talking and talking and talking. And I apologize for that, but it was such an interesting thing. Um, but just a reminder, you know what? Screw it. I'll change the banner here because there we go. Saturday, I believe this is going to be the return of AJ. AJ and I will be there on Saturday Saturday on the Bleacher Brothers channels, which will be YouTube, Facebook, and X. If AJ is going to be on the show on Saturday and he's on there early enough, I will have AJ see if he can get back on the Twitch as well. I have a feeling that he probably has copyright strikes on him, so I wouldn't be surprised if it's that. But whatever it is, I'm going to try to get him back on Twitch as well because, um, because if let's say my show ends up having to be on the Bleacher Brothers pages. Now, the way AJ is talking, he says on this program you can stream the two different Twitches at the same time. I don't know how, but and I'm probably talking out of my ass right now, which you know, just like my hero Jim Carrey. Or he's not my hero, but that scene from Ace Ventura: Pet Detective. Um, I was toying with the idea because I notice sometimes, and SJ can vouch for this, Bank Boy can vouch for this. Sometimes when I go on for that third hour, that's when people start showing up. Now, this is just a thought that I have here, and uh, if you like the idea, then we could do it because I could stream and talk and do some behind the scenes work, like getting the audio out. The one thing I was going to suggest, and AJ doesn't think I need to do this, but also the fact that I'm so close to being an affiliate that I would like to do after shows. Um, like for example, the TV show, the news show, the local Fox news show that they have in the morning goes from 4 to 10, and then they have an after show from 10 to 11. Where I figure if I had a if I had my show on the Bleacher Brothers network from 9 to 11, then I would do 11 to 12, 11 to 1, and just have an open-ended discussion after the fact where we had the show and then on the Bleacher Brothers and then back over to here. But it also requires me getting into the Twitch account so I can raid myself from Bleacher Brothers onto here. But it's there's so many moving parts here, and we're supposed to be going live on September the 9th. So that week will probably be the first week that I'm 4 days a week, and that leads right into my vacation, my work vacation. But don't fear. I mean, AJ will probably have to tell me you're not going on while you're on vacation. I'll be like, dude, I'm not even going anywhere. So, so that second week of the 4 day a week, there is going to be a birthday stream on September 18th. So just to let you guys know. SJ, make a note of that because I know you'll want to be here and make fun of me for being older and older. Uh, actually, that would be a 10 o'clock stream that would start, but But anyways, um, but this is definitely, I have so many thoughts in my head right now. Like different things I want to do. You know, like different people that come onto the show, and also different skits I want to do. Like maybe when like here's a crazy idea. We have a guy Lucho Nice who's our actual hockey guy. Like I can have him on the show, and my one friend who was laid off when we were doing the free for all show, she would do these hockey reports, finger quotes, and she would joke around with different things, and she would hit some good points, but they were so off the wall, it was funny as hell. But you know, bring a little bit of comedy into this as well, more than just me telling dad jokes and stuff like that. So, but you know, just some thoughts here and there. And if you follow me on Facebook, you follow me. Well, if you're friends on Facebook, I try to keep that to friends and friends and family. And if I know who you are, I'm letting you in. I'm just not letting random people in. Um, X is more open. Instagram is more open. Um, SJ sends me a a message every day to keep that streak alive, whatever that's supposed to be. She's more into Snapchat than I am, but if you're in her um, Discord, and yes, I need to set up my Discord this weekend if I have time. Um, but I have other things I want to do, like for example, I want to move some furniture around and stuff like that. Um, but she put on there, oh, nice Keurig, because I mean, she's got a cat, she's got a dog. She's got much more options to continue that streak with me. Whereas me, I'm like, does she really want to see my ugly mug for the fourth day in a row? Even though I haven't sent her pics of my face every day. So I was up early this morning because I didn't write my article for Saratoga, and that's an earlier track. So, usually I do it the night before. It was just I didn't feel like it. I was tired. I even fell asleep watching Action Labs. So, um, so I set my alarm for like 7 o'clock. I finally rolled out of bed around 8:15, 8:30. May have been 9 o'clock. I don't know. But when I did, I took a video of coffee going from the Keurig into my mug, and SJ decided to put on, hey, nice Keurig, but whatever. So I tried to do something different, something to get a laugh or a groan or anything like that. Because one thing with me, a groan is as good as a laugh. Because when I tell a joke and you groan, that's something I want to hear. Because the one thing I do not want to hear when I tell a joke is silence. Because silence means you don't get it. You either don't get it or you don't want to respond. And a groan is as good as a laugh to me because you get the joke no matter how good or how bad it is. So that is going to be it for this Thursday night. Also eligible will return at 10 a.m. Saturday on the Bleacher Brothers platforms, uh, YouTube, X, Facebook. We might be on Twitch if I can get that figured out. We'll be looking at Woodbine, which is which is in Toronto, and that's the first leg of the Canadian Triple Crown, the King's Plate. And we're probably going to look at a couple of different races as well. Hopefully, I can get you guys some more money, because if you've been following my articles and I tweet them out, I post them on my Facebook. I put in SJ's betting book. Um, and thank you, Bank Boy. Um, do appreciate that you come over and watch, because I'm not gonna lie, there's so many streams out there. You could go anywhere. I do appreciate that anybody takes the time to watch even after the fact. So, um, but hopefully I'll give you guys some more winners. Tomorrow is a race from Del Mar in suburban San Diego. Hopefully, I can get you guys the fourth winner of the week, and who knows, maybe I can get you a couple more winners on Saturday. Uh, that show will begin at 10 o'clock. We may run long, but that's good because I'm off on Saturday. So, uh, but but I do appreciate everybody taking the time to join me. And if you're watching and you haven't done so, hit that follow button, and we'll get more people to watch and get me to affiliate, because that's SJ's number one goal right now concerning me. She has other more important goals in her life, but in terms of me and Twitch, she wants to see me get affiliate. So, I mean, I'm not really pushing too hard for it, but if I get it, great. If not, that's fine too. But yeah, I would like to be affiliate. So, but I do appreciate everyone that takes the time here, not only tonight, but every night, because I do appreciate you guys, because there's so much stuff out there. You could go anywhere. And hopefully I brought some good points. Hopefully, make you scratch your head. But that's what it is. This is all in good fun, because this is my decompression from my real job. So I do appreciate everybody. And we'll do it live on the Bleacher Brothers channel at 10 o'clock on Saturday. I'll look at some of the races with AJ. And then on Monday, I'll be back here with you guys and we'll do it live then. And hopefully, some more Phillies wins. The Union plays Saturday night. Hopefully, they win on Saturday in the quarterfinals of their tournament. And much more than that. So, do appreciate everybody. Let's do it live again Monday night. Let's do it live Saturday morning on the Bleacher Brothers channel. And do appreciate everybody. And we'll catch you Thursday. Catch you on Monday. Jesus. And let's do it live then. So just a reminder, I am part of Bleacher Brothers, bleacherbrothers.com for your sports needs. And also, if you're looking for open a sportsbook account, check out Bleacher Bet, the Bleacher Bet icon. There's all those deals that are there right now. Of course, just check to make sure that it's available in your state because I don't want you registering and then realizing you can't do it. So that's it for now. Thank you so much, Bank Boy, SJ, anybody else who's lurking along out there. Have a great night. Have a great weekend. See you on Monday. Good night, everybody.